I see it as I'm preparing him for the world. I do need to be loving and tender and things like that with him, but at the same time, preparing him for the future that he's going into. The world's a rough place. I was in the military for 17 years, so I know preparing my son for those things and at the same time navigating the family dynamic as far as his mother and things like that goes. She's sheltered from the world because I've sheltered her from it.
Good job, right?
But my son, I'm not sheltering him from it.
Right.
He's got to go out there. He's got to learn to fight lions, tigers, and bears and slay dragons. And that process, she doesn't feel like it should be that hard for him, but it is going to be that hard for him.
But it sounds to me from our conversations, even prior to this, that you balance. This particular episode was so much fun and very self-reflective. I, as a parent, have made so many mistakes. In this conversation, I am joined by Jermon Elder, a 45-year-old father of 2 boys, Nick Pierre, a 27-year-old father of a toddler, and my own daughter, Naila, who is 27 and has twin girls of her own. What is your parenting style? What are the nuances between then and today? How were you raised versus how you raise your own kids? Do we treat girls and boys differently? Should we give them choices or guide their every move? Parenting, to me, is about the hardest challenge on earth because the stakes are so high. Well, that's the discussion we're having today. Welcome to Manhood Matters. Let's get to it.
In the living room, find his voice. 4 souls gathered, making a choice. Speaker less great, no sugar to cope. From a black man's lens, each word a keynote. Mental storms, physical strife, hustling hard, the pulse of life.
So let's start with the introduction. I am your host, Stefan. I'm back. And for the first time in the studio, I have 3 new co-hosts. Nick, introduce yourself, brother. Tell us who you are. What's going on with you?
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Pierre, 27 years old, father of 1.
Well, you sound like 100, though.
Yeah. Sounded like this since middle school. You say I sound like Barry White, right?
You got that Barry White.
That's how I heard of him, because all the old heads said I sounded like him.
He's like, I don't know who Barry White is.
Yeah. So I had to look it up, like, who is that person?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So how old is, you say your father when you have a boy, girl?
A boy.
How old is he?
He's 3. He about to be 4 in August.
Okay, cool. And we've got?
My name is Jermon Elder. Everyone just calls me G. I'm a consultant with the insurance industry, and I have 2 kids. I have an older 23-year-old. He has 2 children, and then I have a younger 5-year-old, and trying to raise him to be a good boy, you know?
Dude, that's so insane, the gap.
Yes.
Right.
So when I got divorced, I kind of went on a little rampage, but I'm very happy to have more kids, you know, because I've always wanted more children.
Yeah. So my situation is kind of like yours, with my oldest being 27 and my youngest being 9. So I get to almost do it again. And I'm watching myself, like, learning from past experiences. Yeah. And speaking of my oldest being 27, she's here with us today. Mm-hmm. My oldest, my baby girl. What's going on, Nye?
Hi, I'm Naila Alexandre. I am 27. I have 2 little girls. I am an insurance agent, and I'm a part-time nanny.
Nice. All right. So I guess we'll start with you, G. What do you see that's different between the old way you used to parent and the new way that you parent?
With my older son, I wasn't around as much as I probably should have been. I was in the military for 15 years, so I spent a lot of time, his younger years, being gone. So now that I'm back home with my youngest son, I kind of feel like I'm learning for the first time to actually parent a younger child, because I dealt with my son a lot when he got a little older. Mm-hmm. I find myself being harder on my younger son than I was on my older son, because I was always gone. So when I'd come home, you know, I wanted to just play with him and just be around him and things like that. So I didn't discipline him as much as I probably should have.
That's interesting because, you know, with older parents, again, like myself, I find that it's the other way around, you know, where I was harder on the older ones than I am on the younger ones. There's been times where baby girl will get away with certain things or she'll do certain things. And my style of discipline is more of a let's reason, let's talk through it. Whereas, what did I used to do back then?
Whoopings. No, I can't even say that. I didn't get too many, but definitely a lot more than she does.
I say now I'm more quick to the whooping than I was. I was more I did more reasoning with my older son, just because, like I said, I was gone all the time. So when I would come home, I wasn't as quick to be that way. You know?
Right. It's difficult, right? You're gone. I mean, dude, first of all, it's not like you weren't around. You were in the military. You were gone 15 years. You were building a career. You were
taking care of the family.
Yeah.
So coming home is very hard for you to just be like guy who shows up and starts to lay down the law or whoopings and things like that.
Yeah. And I would talk to him on the phone, and I'd speak to him and things like that. He knew exactly who I was. It's not that I was just gone all the time. I'd speak to him almost every day, but I wasn't there. When he'd come home from school, being able to say, I'm going to tell you, Dad, when you get home, it wasn't like that. I wasn't going to show up, because I was gone.
Yeah. What do you think discipline looked like back then versus what it looks like today in a more generalized sense?
It was more physical consequences. For me, growing up, it was more physical consequences. As a young man, as a boy, my father was quick to the spanking, to the beating, to the punishment side of things, more so than to the explanation and reason side. And I think I'm probably more into the reason side, but I should be more the way my father was, because in the end, I turned out pretty good. So why fix what ain't broken?
Our fathers raised us. We're nearly about the same age, right? Approximately. Then the way we raise our children who are now in their 20s, and the way these guys, these younger 20-some-year-olds are raising their children. So what about you guys? Like, what do you find that was different from the way you were raised versus the way you want to raise your own kids?
So you just wait.
I know it's coming, but let's go. That's what I want to hear.
I think I'm a little soft with my son. Like, I don't never beat him or anything like that. I kind of just let him be a kid. I feel bad if I beat him for being a kid. And I feel like I raised him with more love than what I got. My dad didn't know how to show that. He was like an old school Haitian. My son know I love him. Like, I always tell him I love him. And you know what I'm saying? Just I embrace him more than what I got when I was a kid.
How old's your dad?
When he died, he was 55. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was here anymore.
Yeah, it's all good. But if he was alive today, he would probably be like 70 something.
So he's much older.
Yeah.
Because you're my kid's age.
Yeah.
And he's almost 20 years older than I am.
Yeah.
I see what you mean as far as that generation. They were tough, man. So what you're doing is, do you feel like you might be overcorrecting?
I don't know. I might be a little bit, because I feel like I might have to make some changes soon. He think I'm more of a friend, and I need to make a boundary, you know what I'm saying, somewhere to where he know, like, all right, this is my dad still, so I got to kind of be more a little stern with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I might have to make some corrections.
I think that's what happens a lot of times, is that we see certain things based on the way we come up and then how we've acted. And then by the time we take that dial and we overcorrect. So I think there needs to be that balance still. What are your thoughts, Nye?
I don't think I was over disciplined. I don't want to make it seem like I was just getting whooped nonstop. I definitely had a lot of conversations. I think I was raised, like, I'll just speak about you. I won't speak about the other parent because you're here. But I think you were over disciplined physically. So you took that into account when you were raising us. And I was the only child for a while. So I can count on one hand how many whoopings you actually passed out. They all still hurt my feelings because they were big deals. But with my kids, I don't punish them for breaking rules they didn't know were rules. They're allowed to correct me. They're allowed to question me. Because I said so, or just me being their mom, I just take time to, like, I see them as humans. I don't want them to fear me. I want them to respect me. But it's always like a two-way street. Don't lie to me, because mommy trusts you. You're supposed to trust mommy. Like, it's a two-way street. Mommy respects you. You respect mommy. I always get to their level. So I'm very gentle with them in that way, but I also am a disciplinarian. Like, if you understand my boundary and you break it, we have an issue. Now, it's not always physical. I would never pick anything up to assault my children. They're small. But they do get popped. They do go to that wall. They do get devices taken away. I think I'm the only disciplinarian between the two parents. We just have different parenting styles. So I feel like someone has to make sure they walk that fine line, but they still act like children. I still allow them to make mistakes. They can make messes. They can do all the things. They can break things. Like, I allow them to mess up first, and I don't jump on them. As long as it's not threatening their safety, they don't usually get in trouble the first few times.
When you say you allow them to correct you, give me an example of what that looks like. Because I think that anyone my age is into that going, wait, what? What did you say?
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an
correct
example.
you. What do you mean?
So my
they
twins,
pay bills?
No, I know, seriously. So my twins, they received lollipops at school for being happy helpers or whatever. If they help the teacher, they get lollipops. Well, when they got in the car, they were allowed to have their lollipops. They had 2 each. They said something in the car that was not okay. I corrected them. I said, Mommy doesn't like that. Don't say it again. They thought it was a joke. They said it again. So I said, you say it again, I'm taking the lollipops. You got it as a reward, but now you're acting up. I will take them. They said it again, thinking that I was joking. I asked them to pass it to me, threw them out the window. Mind you, I am a candy mom. I have chocolate jars. I have all kind of candies at the house. So if I throw away a lollipop out the window, my kids are not being bullied. They can get another one when they get home. But when we got home, I realized that one of my twins was holding a lollipop. She had hid it, I guess, and just didn't give me both. So in a way, she was lying, right? And so when I was taking them out the car, she already had it in her mouth so that I couldn't take it away from her. So she did get in trouble. When we got inside, she got popped, took the lollipop, whatever. Come to find out at the end of the day, they've already had their baths. Everybody's good. We're moving on. She came to me and she asked me, Mommy, can I speak to you? And I said, sure, let's talk. So we were playing dolls, we're talking, and she goes, I don't think it's fair. Well, and then she corrected herself and she said, the only thing I did wrong was eat the lollipop, but I gave you my lollipops. That was Cleo's lollipop. This is Callie now talking to me. So what Cleo did, because Cleo didn't want to give me her lollipop, she gave it to her sister. And her sister felt like, I gave you mine, so I can take this one. And she got in trouble technically for her sister's lollipop. And she was just trying to understand, like, did I get in trouble because I had a lollipop, period, or because I took my sister's? Like, she just didn't understand. So then I had to bring them back all together and we had to have a conversation. But I feel like before it was, you got a whooping because you didn't listen. Like, that's it. Don't question me, whatever. And now it's like, we had to sit there and really break it down. Like, you can't get your sister in trouble like that. Or like, you have to listen when mommy says things. We had a discussion, and it took like 15 minutes for everybody to understand what was okay, what was not okay, what boundaries we can break. They had already been disciplined, but they were allowed to come back and say to me, like, that wasn't cool. I didn't understand that. I don't think that was fair. I don't know how I broke that rule. What even was the rule that I broke? And I got to their level and we had that conversation. And I think that that's something it's not normalized. Like, a kid is a kid. A kid stays in a kid place. You do it because I said so. And I just think that parenting style is so outdated.
Def, let me ask you something. How would you have handled that? To me, I believe in women, children, and terrorists, right? I don't negotiate with you. You know what I meant when I said, give me those lollipops.
Right.
In that situation, I would see it as my child's trying to find a loophole. They're trying to deceive. They're trying to get around. They're trying to skirt the requirements that I've put on them.
I was thinking the same thing.
Women,
we all
children,
do
and
the same thing.
terrorists is what I think.
I think for us, they're four, right? So I think we try to put adult mindsets into children. She gave me her lollipops. I asked her to give me, she gave me both. So in her mind, she did what she was asked to do. Now, whatever is following that is a reward, I guess. She really didn't understand. So now the other one that gave her the lollipop is where I was looking at her like, why did you do that instead of just giving it to me? So now I'm confused. Like, who actually should have been in trouble?
Both.
No, that's the thing. So once we were done with that conversation, they both hit the wall. They both understood the rule. That's what I'm saying. I will discipline, but I allow them to have that conversation. I allow them to question me. It's not a negotiation. It's still, this is what I want. This is what's going to happen. You get your discipline, but I will allow that conversation. I don't mind having that conversation.
I think it's commendable to have the conversation. And I think G's dead on when he says they're trying to find a loophole.
Of course.
I cannot negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's what I'm hearing. These kids are brilliant right there. And from the fact that they can approach you, they have the conversation. Of course, you kind of set it up that way for them to know they can come to mommy. Yeah. I think that's what's great about everything that you're saying here. I think what's good about it is that they can go to mom or dad and just be like, hey, listen, I have a question about this. But then you get turned around and go, you were trying to be slick. Yeah. I know exactly what you were doing. No, you don't get off on a loophole. I understand it, but you get the rule. In fact, you were actually a little extra smart, which is how you thought you can get away with this. Yeah. But I do agree in that sense with the whole, let's explain it. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go over it, back and forth with you. Once I tell you why I'm doing this, this is what I used to do that I think is different, that I do differently now. Like before, it was because I said so, right? It was just what it is. Hey, do this. Why? I can't believe you just asked me why. If I'm going to answer anything, it's because I said so. I think that also back when it's like guys like your age in their 20s right now, we're growing up. I don't think that your intelligence wasn't appreciated. I don't think we gave you enough grace, enough rope to say, or even enough credit to say, hey, they can't understand this if you explain it to them a certain way.
At what point could your children question you?
When they're grown.
That's what I'm saying.
So now as an adult,
can she question you?
Can she question me? It depends on what the conversation is. If the conversation is about her life and what she wants to do, and I'm giving her advice and she wants to question and go back and forth, there's no question. You're grown. You could do what you want. But when it comes to something that has to do with the family that I created, right? If you're speaking from that context, we'll have a discussion. But at the end of the day, the final decision still lies with what I want to do. But she and I have a different relationship in the sense that she's my daughter, she's my oldest, but we do have conversations. Like I'll go to her for advice, for counsel. We'll have those conversations because I trust her. I think she's very, very smart. So because of that, I'll lean on her in that way. My son, who just turned 20 just last week, still doesn't question me.
So go down the line. How far back would you say to the point where your kids could actually question what you have to say? So you said your 20-year-old can't. So 27.
It depends, right? Like, so for instance, he wanted to join the military. I was against it. So I actually got a bunch of my buddies from the military. I said, look, I'm going to leave it up to him. I didn't put my foot down and say, you're not doing this. I said, I actually want you to speak to other people who are in the military, and then they'll tell you what they have to say. I've had guys who said, I would do it again. I don't know anything different. This is all I know. I would love it. And the majority of people that I know, because I have a lot of friends who came from military, different branches too, who were just like, nah, I wouldn't do it again. And I would not recommend for my kid to do it. But at the end of the day, it ended up being his decision. I think it's somewhere in the late teens when they get to start questioning, because again, at that point, man, they can have children of their own, right? So I'm having more discussions. I don't think I've ever been that much of a hard ass where it's like my way or the highway. It comes down to that, but I really haven't had too many challenges.
They don't question your leadership.
Yeah, I haven't had those challenges. So I guess it's hard for me to answer that question. I haven't had the tantrums as teenagers, tantrums as babies, sure, but I've never had a teenage tantrum like, I hate you, go to my room. That shit doesn't exist in my world. I don't know what that's like.
No.
Do you feel like your kids should like fear you a little bit?
I don't think that's necessary. For me, I don't think it's necessary. My son, for whatever reason, feared me.
Yeah.
And I still don't know why. It was all love, but it was tough. But I also, at the time, now I have another son, but at the time I expected him to be, I was raising him to be a man. So I was a bit more stern with him, right? I expected certain things. I mean, if we were playing sports and there were certain things he couldn't do, I was sounding more like a coach. I was a bit more harsh. I was pushing. I was being that way because as a man, I'm raising a man. But to answer your question, I prefer, in that order, love and respect. And the reason I don't put respect first, because I feel like if there's enough love, the sacrifice that they will make, the way that they will bend their own will to make sure that I don't get disappointed, I think that supersedes everything. Because I've heard other people my age, his age, say my biggest thing was making my father proud, was making my parents proud and making them happy. And because I love them so much, because I admired them so much, I think that takes care of everything else, if that makes sense.
Do you find that you do different things? You have a blend of girls and you have boys. I could see myself being more patient and more understanding and more on the negotiation side with my girls. Mm-hmm. But my boys, I know that in the end, especially when they're young, I think I was more hard on my son when he was young, because I knew as he got older, I wouldn't have to be hard on him, because I could just look at him or I could tell him, hey, stop or whatever. He would know, because I was hard on him when he was young, as opposed to waiting till he gets older and then having to be hard on him then. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm more on that side. I want more of the respect and then the love, because I feel like you can't love me unless you respect me. When you said you would prefer love over fear and respect, that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because on my side, I would prefer the respect and the fear and then the love.
Why fear?
I think fear is a necessary component of respect. If you have to fear losing or having that person not around, like I want my girl.
Oh, fear in that way.
I want my girl to fear losing me.
Okay.
Fear having me not be in her life.
That's different though.
I want to provide so much value and so much utility. Yeah. And I want to be so useful that finding another me is exhausting. Like the thought of trying to replace me would be unfathomable.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Like I train everybody in my life, my mother, my sister, all my family members. I am extremely helpful in so many different ways. People depend on me.
Yeah.
And that's probably bad on me, because it creates like a Superman complex. I got to save everybody. I got to do everything for everybody.
You're spread thin.
Yeah, I am in many respects. But I also know that everyone depends on me because I'm dependable. And
I agree with you on that one. I think that's a little bit different. I think we're using fear in the wrong context. Well, in different, not wrong, but in separate contexts here. Because yes, of course, I want them to fear losing me because of what I do and what I represent in their lives. But I don't want them to fear me as in they're scared. If I come in, like my boy right now who's 13, right? I come home and I tell him to do something or whatever, he's going to do it. And that's
where the respect comes in.
That's out of love and respect, right? Yeah. I just think that we can flip those any kind of way and still end up being right. If you love me enough, you'll respect me because you'll care about how I feel. And if you're not showing me any respect, you obviously don't love me. So I think loving me enough is all I really need from you. And the rest is for me to do my job, to step up as a man, so that there's something for you to follow and admire about me.
But I feel like with some kids, they just like hard-headed. So it might look like they don't respect you, but they just can't get it right at the moment. I think like you got to do a lot for your kids to not love you. You know what I'm saying? It's like automatic.
That's true.
They going to see you as a superhero regardless. So it might be a kid that always mess up, and it's like, dang, you don't respect me. You know what I'm saying? You must not love me. And they respect you, they love you, they just keep messing up at the moment.
So it's a cognitive issue?
I don't know, but like, you know how it is? Like,
He's a
everybody
dumbass.
know a kid that, they just can't
like,
stop fucking up.
You have to be okay with
can't
your
get
kids
right.
not
Yeah,
liking you.
like it take them a while to get right.
We
Say
have
again?
those seasons.
You have to be okay with your kids not liking you, and a lot of parents.
That's strong.
aren't
I
okay
like
with
that.
You got to be okay with your kids not liking you.
I hear that every day.
They're still gonna love you, but you gotta correct them
Yeah.
and have them not like you in that moment. Because kids' memories, their memories are fleeting. You know,
Yeah.
they'll forget about what you were mad about last week.
Yeah.
But they'll get over it.
Yeah.
So you started out a little too soft.
Yeah.
How are you going to show up from this point forward? And he's only 3.
Yeah. I started doing the little things. I don't know if they too little, but like the other day we had got some food and like he crying because he don't want to like bring it in the house. And it's light, it's not heavy. I'm sitting there like, okay, you done got too soft. You talking about you don't want to do, you want me to hold everything for you. So I'm like, nah, you hold it, you bring it inside the house. He crying while he doing it, lying, talking about it's too heavy. You know, little things like that. I'm not going to do everything for you. Like you go do something so you can feel like, all right, I ate because I brought it inside the house type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like as a boy, he got to understand certain things like that instead of looking at his dad like, oh, dad going to bring it. He's going to carry me here. He's going to do this
That's
and
right.
that. You feel me? Like what he said about, I have to be okay with him crying and not liking me at the moment because he going to forget it in 10 minutes anyway. He's 3, so it's like, yeah.
His mother, my son's mother's like that. She wants to do everything for him, and I'll be like, no, you ain't gonna do that. Go over there and pick that up. Go over there and move that. Go over there and put those clothes over there, because he'll be, Mom, I want some juice. Hey, go over there and pick up that juice box and put the little straw in it and walk back to the couch, you know?
Yeah.
You got to do that for those kids because, like I said, you will make them soft. You will make them dependent. And even though my son's 5, yours is 3, start instilling that into them, repetition's the key. They'll get to the point where they stop asking for things and start being more self-sufficient and independent.
So do you think it'd be different if you guys had girls?
I do think I'd be different with girls, yes.
Tell me about that.
I think I'd be more into the, okay, I'll go get it for you. I would want to
Fine,
create that
bring me the
soft.
He just
Juice.
melted, right?
But I also know that's wrong. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But I know as a young man, you have to be different. Boys have to learn to do things. They have to learn to be useful.
I got girls. Inevitably, we end up melting. It's just what it is. Oh, yeah, you were melted 4.
Please.
You were melted 4. You
Like,
don't
don't
understand.
even look
This was my
this
best friend
way.
for like 6 years. I remember a couple of times where she's asleep on the couch in the studio, things that you won't even remember. And she got to be mad at me a couple of times. You know, so speaking of allowing you to correct me, there were a couple of times where I remember like there were times when she's mad and I'm over here kind of like breaking a little bit. Fine, let's, whatever it was. But there were times again where I was really tough and I had to show that. And maybe we can talk about this a little bit too. Sometimes you look at the kid, you just kind of made that point a little while ago, Nick. You said, depending on the kid, sometimes the kid just don't get it. Sometimes the kid shows so much potential that my expectations are sky high.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, I see this. I'm going to extrapolate all this out of you. I want this to be who you become, right? So I'm going to chisel away all the imperfections because I want you to be this big, wonderful thing or whatever it is, which is a lot of pressure to put on a kid. But that's what I started seeing. So when she started showing potential at a very young age, and she was super young, and she's 2 years old, 3 years old, running circles around the 6-year-olds. So when I get bad news from school, I'm over here just losing my mind, losing my shit, because at that point I had to be like this person who's just going to hone in on all the things that I thought that I could do. In retrospect, I did a lot wrong. Obviously, I can see it now, but there were times where I also did not imagine she could do anything wrong, which, by the way, made me blind to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were things that you'd get away with just because she couldn't do anything wrong. It doesn't matter what anybody said. And I'll be beefing with her mother. We didn't get along for a long time. You know what I mean? So she calls me she's like, hey, this is what's going on with Nye. I was committing the cardinal sin of not talking to her. And instead I was like, I'm done talking to you. Let me call my daughter, which was obviously wrong.
This might be off topic, but I do got a question about that. Some people tell me that I just started, so it's going to be a long time. How long does this beefing thing take? Because I'm ready for it to be
I can
over
answer.
with.
Let me answer.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
she's just
So
You're going to answer from your perspective,
yes,
or okay?
yes, actually. So it's crazy because I don't have many years on you. But when I tell you,
You guys are the same age, a year apart.
as far as parenting,
Oh, yeah,
you're probably
yeah.
older than me as far as a gauge. But I am a firecracker only with that person. I mean, when all of the negative characteristics that I can have, it comes out with him. I use really bad profanity. Like, he makes me angry. And a lot of the times I realize, not anymore. I mean, nothing gets a reaction out of me now. But as long as my kids are safe, I don't care. But I realized that I was parenting through pride. And it's really, really hard to separate the relationship from the parenting. And I had to have a lot of conversations where I would call my dad and be like, I am losing it. I'm about to lose it. I'd be in tears. I mean, I'm cursing. Like, I hate this guy. Like, what is happening? I think I'm doing all the right things and he just makes my life so difficult. I've actually been counseled that, like, you have to remove your own emotions out of it. You have to make it about the kids. You have to be so non-reactive that it almost makes them feel silly to even do anything to irritate you. You can't take anything personal. Anything. If it's not anything that you need to retain, in one, out one. You also need to be able to say, I'm sorry. Say, I didn't consider that. You know, like, switch it up sometimes. If something is said to you, you're just like, oh, I didn't think about that. My bad. And then oftentimes, because I go to counseling too now, I've said things to him where you're not doing this or you're not doing that. You're not doing this. Like, you don't even deserve this. Like, it's not my job to tell him what he deserves. There are things that I've received that I don't deserve. I get grace. He gets grace. We all get grace. But just separating the two things and letting it be about the kid. The kid doesn't want to be in a situation where the parents are hostile. And sometimes one parent, it takes them longer to figure it out. Sometimes they just want to be mad at you for the whole 18. And it's not even 18. It goes on forever. You guys are going to be grandparents together. So it doesn't end. I think for me with my situation is I just see him as family. And I just have to, and sometimes it's a step cousin that you only see once a year and you tell happy birthday on Facebook. That's fine, but he's still family. And children that we love the most, we created together. So it has to be bigger than the argument. The beefing, it literally just overnight, it just stopped. One day I was just like, I promise you. And I had to have that conversation with him. I had to say, look, I don't know if you can see the growth, but the growth has happened. I'm sorry if I've ever offended you. You know, I'm ready to move on from offending you. I don't mean to offend you. Clearly, we're just polar opposites. And we loved each other at a time, and now, you know, we're in a different space. But I want us to be a team. At the end of the day, we are a team. Whether we are romantic partners or we're just co-parents, we're a team. So let's just cut the bullshit. Let's stop all this senseless fighting, because if it's not going to matter next year, why does it matter today? Like, let's just, you know, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. We went through years of insane back and forth. And then I kid you not, overnight, I was like, I'm done. So you have to be done.
Well, see, it's easy to say as the woman because it's like you hold all the power because you was able to just stop the beefing. No, I could not be arguing.
The beef was coming to me.
Oh, so he was coming to you?
No, I wasn't just like,
okay.
I was not just calling that man just beefing. That was not my thing. But there would be things where he would say something or I would say something and they would pop off immediately and it would go on forever.
Yeah.
So in your situation, just stay neutral.
I try to.
I know, bless your heart. But it's one of those things where sometimes you need to be a little bit nicer, you know, not just say nothing. Sometimes you need to be like, I'm sorry. I didn't perceive it that way. And I know that's what I'm saying. It's hard for you because in your head, you're like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I felt validated in all of my reactions too. And that's what I'm saying. You have to remove the pride completely out of it. You have to respond like your child is sitting on your lap at all times.
Oh, that's a great way of thinking about it.
Okay.
How would you respond if your child was sitting on your lap the entire time?
You know how you'd be like, oh, okay, that's great. You have to literally respond like that.
Yeah.
It is insane. Like you're talking to preschool children. See your ex-partner as a child sometimes.
Oh, I already do.
Oh man.
Yeah, I already do.
You know, he's still
man.
he's still a little wounded right now.
Yeah,
I can
he's
tell.
like got you on that.
So Nick, let me put it to you this way, right? With Nye, she's talking about something that's more fresh, it's more raw, right?
Yeah.
The wound is still very much open. And so this is what I mean. Even talking to her, she's my daughter, but in talking to her, I learn a lot. Like that I had never heard. If you're having a conversation, how would you address it? Because you're not going to lose your shit in front of the kid, right? At least you shouldn't. Most normal people shouldn't. Yeah. The other thing that I heard that was really, really powerful is we all, especially as men, one thing we'll say is, bro, you don't know how many times I said, oh my God, 8 more years. She is 10, 8 more years. I don't have to fuck with her no more. That's child support. That's different, right? Real life is, like you said, we're going to be grandparents together. So that means you're dealing with this person for the rest of your life. You're going to have to interact with this person. You're going to see them at your kid's wedding. You're going to see them at your grandkid's wedding. You're going to be there. You're going to have to some kind of way figure out how to interact. And you are a team in the sense that both your goals is you want that child to win. So here's the secret. I used to react to whatever shit she would do. So for instance, I lived in Tennessee. They live here in Georgia. I would drive down here to come see my kids. I just drove 6 hours. I tell you I'm going to be here at 3 o'clock, for example. I get to your house, you're not around. Kids are not around. Just drove 6 hours, man. I'm tired. I want to see my kids. I want to take them out. I want to go out with them, hang out with them. Then I call, I'm calling, no answer. Finally, about 4:30, an hour and a half later, oh, I'm going to be a couple hours late, so just wait.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff like that would happen.
Whole time we're in the house. We can't go outside.
And they're in the house.
We are in
so
the house.
stuff like that would happen, right? All of that stopped when I stopped reacting.
My co-parent literally told me one time, and I will never forget it. He said, a reaction is all that I'm looking for. I don't care if it's a good one or a bad one. It's just, and I don't think he remembers telling me that, but
He
I have
slipped
that
up
control.
and said it, but that's really what it is.
That's what he said. I know that no matter what, I can get you really happy or really mad quickly.
And that's all it takes, man.
And that's insane.
How about if you don't? Because the power is in the reaction that you give.
But why do we have to go through that?
Get to
You know
the
what
root
I'm
of the
saying?
beef, though.
what's
Like,
the-
what are y'all beefing about? I think that's what y'all need to talk about, too, because it's not about the kids. It's
not-
never about the kids.
It's nothing though. Like not too long ago, she just started. So I asked her. I said, "So what did I do this time? Like, what's wrong?" And she says, "The fact that like my father had me. Like I'm here." At that point, I was like, "Okay, I can't win with you. I can't stop it. You mad that I'm alive?" You know
Nick, I'm gonna tell you this.
Nick's like, I literally have no idea what to do. I literally just exist and she's pissed.
Yeah.
What this young lady's saying is very modern and very reasonable. What he's saying is very mature. I'm gonna give you the other side of it. Do not ever let a woman that does not have your best interest have that much leverage over you. You be ready to burn everything to the ground. Like you're saying to yourself, you're trying to do what's best for your children.
Yeah.
And you want to spend time with them, you want to support them and things like that. If she just wants child support and every time you try and interact or take him somewhere or do something for him, it's a problem, then you remove yourself from there. If you take your presence, your reaction and everything away from it, and she sees how much she's losing, then she'll come to the conclusion that having you around is actually better than not. If someone's hindering you helping them, then you be ready to remove yourself from them. And it may be short-term painful for your children
Or you.
or for you, but you cannot let someone have leverage over you, because just like you said, sometimes people just want a reaction out of you, and allowing people to have that type of control over you is bad for your sanity and it's bad for your spirit. So you be ready to remove yourself, burn everything to the ground, let your presence no longer exist in their life if that's the case. You pay your child support, you pay whatever you're supposed to, and then you remove everything else from it. And then they'll miss you. They'll see how much you brought to the table, and they'll be like, hey, come get this little guy. Can you come do this? And then after that,
Get things on paper.
they'll be more reasonable. You be ready to, like I said, pull the pin on that grenade and take everyone to die. You know, like
God
you-
damn.
I mean, Jesus. Speaking to the mic, pull the grenade.
do not let people have that type of leverage over you. Not anybody.
I love what
Yeah.
you're saying. I love what you're saying. I'm going to add one thing to that. And that was also the mature response, but it's a true response. I
Yeah,
think yours is
it's
more
honest.
real than anything else that we've said here. I mean, I meant what I said. She meant what she said. But what I like about it is the fact that he's peeling the Band-Aid off and he's telling you, look, this shit's going to hurt. But it's okay because it can only last a certain time. So here's the one thing that I'll add. He said, go ahead and pay your child support, right? Do what you have to do. Keep pursuing your obligations. Your obligations are your obligations. But if there is something in the way of that, say, for instance, you're supposed to have your son on the weekends, go pick up your son. But don't have a reaction if something changed.
And only communicate through text.
Yeah, this way it's written down.
Don't
and
pick
you have
her up
like,
so she can say silly stuff to you on the phone.
it's going to impact you, brother. You're going to feel it. I know what I'm saying to you, right? And I know what we're asking you to do is real, real heavy. But I'm telling you, kids are little humans. They're going to grow up. They're going to see the truth. My dad is always trying to pick me up. He shows up. He calls. She won't let me talk to him. Mom won't let me. They'll start to figure that out. I've heard men say, well, look, if you keep trying and you keep hitting a wall, stop trying. I disagree with that statement. I think that as long as you do what you're supposed to do, but to your point, G, don't put yourself out there to just keep getting hurt. Like this is what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to keep my sanity. I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. Anything beyond that, you don't control me. You don't control reactions. You don't get anything out of me.
Another thing, don't be reckless, but you should have more children. And if you have more children, nothing makes a woman want you to see their children more than them seeing you with other children and you being good to them.
Go have you another baby, Nick.
You be good to your other children, and you know what? Surprisingly, your other children's mothers will show up wanting you to also be good to their children.
Holy.
He said, don't be reckless. I'm going to add one more thing.
I'm not saying be reckless, but
do you
should
have
more
any,
children.
are you with someone?
No, I'm not with anybody.
Well, when it happens, naturally, because I think G and I disagree on this, because earlier I was saying, yeah, no, it's like if I had to do it all over again, I'm having way fewer kids, right?
Oh, man.
And it has to do with the fact that I think the world is shit in a way.
Yeah.
I think there's too much to be concerned about now that I do have children. I'm worried about them all the time. I worry about things happening to them. Hell, on your way here this morning, someone almost ran you off the road.
They did run me off the road,
So,
and I called him losing it.
Yeah. So she calls me crying like it doesn't stop. Right. So I have this worry for the rest of my life. Right.
Sorry about that.
I'll be 90 and worried about my 70-year-old kid who's calling me crying because something's going on. So, yes, I would do it a little bit differently. But I would also make sure, because I would not want to go through that pain again, because it was painful for me to leave my kids. Mm-hmm. So what you be careful with, and I think that's what I mean by don't be reckless, is whoever you're going to have a kid with next, that needs to be a forever person.
Yeah.
I will say this as well. For me personally, I think back over my ancestors, the people I came from. I know they survived wars, they survived famine, they survived the transport across the ocean, all that type of stuff. They survived all those things and they still managed to have children, still managed to have family. Now that the world is as good as it's going to be, as bad as we think it is, it's still the best it's ever been. So to say, I don't want to have any more children, or I don't want to contribute to the world because it's hard after what my ancestors went through, I just think that's, I can't do it, me personally.
That's an interesting perspective.
I don't think you should necessarily look at it as, oh, the world's too tough, it's going bad. I think it's been physically harder. It's probably mentally harder to see the way the world's going at the moment, but it's just different. You know?
Good point.
Man, pregnancy. Well,
we're talking from our perspective, I guess, right?
Jesus.
On a lighter note, what are some of the strictest rules y'all grew up with?
Mine is so silly.
I
Y'all are
don't
going to
think my
think it's
parents
so
were
bad.
strict like that.
Be home on time and don't lie.
Yes,
That's what I used
do
to.
not lie to me.
That's the strictest rule.
That was it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I couldn't really do much anyway, so I don't even see it as being strict. It's just school, church. Yeah.
I think church was a bigger part of my life growing up than I have it as part of my children's life. But
Yeah, I was forced to go to church.
Yeah, me too.
On Saturday?
Yeah, Saturdays, yeah.
Yep.
So,
y'all 7-Day Adventists?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I stopped going. I stopped going.
He's like, yeah.
I pop in every now and again, but
Yeah.
my rule, I think, growing up was don't lie. With my dad, it was definitely just don't lie to me. If you tell me the truth, we'll figure it out, but just don't lie to me. And I have the same rule for my kids. The only thing that I allow them to do, only their other parent knows that this is a thing, but I allow it. I'm trying not to be, but I am still somewhat of a sailor. Everyone that they know, all the adults in their life use profanity, and they hear it. They hear it at school. They hear it everywhere. And sometimes, I'm sure they want to let one out. So I let them, but not in front of me. They have a safe place. If they feel like they need to say their one S word or their one H word, go in that bathroom, close the door, and just hearing the little voices be like, shit, stupid. But they're in the bathroom with the door closed. So there is a place where you can break the rules as long as it's in the home. So when you go to school, when you go to church, when you're being watched by a family member, that's not the time to not be a young lady, not be respectful. There's a place where you can break the rules, and it's with me. I guess it's a little.
Why can't they do it in front of you?
They can if they'd like, but my thing is they don't know that they don't know the.
I ain't cool with that.
No, my thing is they don't know. They don't understand time and place just yet. So that's what I'm trying to implement. There is a time and a place. Now, this is very weird for me. This is probably last year is when I finally started saying like words in front of you.
Yeah.
Before I used to be like, Daddy, can I curse? Because I'm in a mood. And I would have to ask first. And I have children and I'm still like, there's no way I can tell you this story without the words. I have to say the words. And I still want it to be like that. Like you can say what you need to say, but I'm still mom. You don't say it in front of me. Like there has to be some type of...
Never understood that rule. I feel like...
Because they don't know not to curse at you. They don't know the difference yet. There's no boundary. They don't understand. So if they're allowed to just say things, they're just going to throw it out and say it to me.
So for me, no,
not with me.
Well, it's not just that, right? I've always known that you know bad words very, very early on. But I think this is kind of what Jermaine was talking about earlier when he said something about, having more respect and fear. I think this is why that comes in.
Right.
So again, we can kind of go back and say, you love me enough that you respected me to make sure you didn't say those words in front of me. I mean, you're a grown woman with kids of your own and still not cursing when you're talking to me. I still won't
say the F word. That's far. And it's my favorite. And I still find a way.
She's like, it's my favorite, but I can't say it. Right.
I still don't.
And there's a question of like, same thing. I curse a lot, but there was a point where I don't know if it was maybe a few years ago where I started saying bad words in front of my mom. Again, it was just a question of respect. I try to refrain from using like what we call bad language. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's colorful. But I think when a kid is 5, 6, 7 years old, I don't even know how I feel about the whole, you can say it, I'm giving you permission to say it, go say it here. But again, I've made too many mistakes to know what's right or wrong when it comes to that. So I'm not sure. I just feel like, you don't get to say it to me. You don't get to say it in front of me. No. You do need to, not to me or even in front of me at that age. Now, when you start to pay bills, again, and you're grown and you're in your own environment.
You're paying bills at your house.
You're at your house,
so
right, in your own environment. And even then, again, look at you. Look at Julian, who's 20 years old. We're at the gym. We're working out together. We're hanging out, developing more of a friendship now because of his age. It's just the way it is. My 13-year-old son, we were doing some volunteer work at a nursery one time. And, I asked him a question. I was like, how you doing over there? And he goes, can I curse? Yeah. Because I'm dying to hear this. And he goes, this is pretty shitty. And I was like, that's good because he's shoveling shit. But again, if I go clean the kitchen or something like that, he's like, well, this is fucked up. I'm not going to hear that.
No.
Yeah, I'm in my 40s and I don't think I've cursed in front of my father or my mother, even though I curse profusely.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with smoking. Like I smoke cigars,
right?
But I feel weird smoking in front of my parents.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Interesting.
I feel really strange doing it. I do it at family functions here and there, but I do feel strange. Stefan, let me ask you something. You have boys, right? You have a 20-year-old and you have like a 13-year-old. How close do you expect them to be in terms of like their support of one another, the older one teaching the younger one, things like that?
So that was a great question, right? I think that it's a challenge for me because I need to navigate. They don't have to say mom. My oldest doesn't live with me. I know that my youngest son looks up to him. My oldest son comes around. He just basically is like, just kind of follows him, just going to hang out with him, whatever. Again, as a leader, as a father, I have to do a better job of fostering that relationship. And I have to really just do a better job with my oldest son. He's the greatest kid in the world.
With your older son, do you encourage that relationship to that teacher-mentor type relationship?
That's a great question. Again, I don't do it enough and I need to do a better job of it. I'm recognizing this again. When you asked the question just now, it triggers something for me to go, I'm not doing that job as well as I should be doing it. But he has the biggest heart in the world. So all I need to do is just kind of redirect him and say, hey, just look out for your little brother. Yeah. So I need to do a better job of doing that because otherwise you won't think of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as boys, you need that. You need to feed off other men because you can't experience everything yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to take in things from other sources and other locations. We used to have those uncles. You'd have the cousins. You'd have the older brothers. You'd have that, but we're so separated now that you don't have that anymore. So yeah, you should definitely have those influences.
And one thing that I think, what parenting too, is that I feel blessed in the way that I have much older kids who can almost be parents to the younger ones. Not in the way that, some people will say, well, I have kids and now the kid gets to raise this one or babysit. Not at all in that way. In a way where in 10 years, my youngest will be 19 years old. There are ways that my oldest will be able to connect with her as a young woman who's been there, done that I can't. I think she'll listen more to her sister than she will listen to her mom and to listen to me. Mm-hmm. So if she decides to spread her wings, start wilding out, whatever it is, she's got 3 older sisters that can kind of rein her back in and have those conversations. So in that way, I'm lucky in that sense. My 13-year-old son, he's going to be 20. When he is 20, my oldest son will be 27. Maybe there's words of wisdom that could come from them. You know how young kids will look at us like, that's how I was back in your day. You're so old. You know, they may not say that, but that's the reason they're not listening, because they're also kind of thinking about how disconnected we are. Too much of a gap in generational wise. You know what I mean? Whereas, oh, this is my older sister.
Yeah.
I looked up to her just a few years ago. I still look up to her, and I know she's recently lived it. Whereas one, my dad has never lived it because A, he's not a woman. B, he's 150 years old.
My father would tell me things that would happen in my life, even though he grew up in the 70s. He would tell me, hey, son, watch out for this. And I would, just like you said, I would look at him as being old. Mm-hmm. I would do the same thing with my older son. I would say, hey, look, this is going to happen. Things are going to pop up. Watch out for that little girl. I see these little signs of you and her interacting together, you know?
Yeah.
I would point those things out. History repeats itself. Like everything my dad said is the same thing I was saying to my son, and my son, he's probably going to say it to his son. So,
Ain't that crazy?
yeah.
Ain't that crazy? Because no matter what you do,
There's nothing new under the sun.
man, and then what's interesting about parenting is, I guess I'll ask you guys, what is your biggest frustration with parenting?
Ooh-wee.
Co-parenting.
Nick, you over here hurt.
The extra child.
Co-parenting. Yeah. I'll let you expound that a little bit before I ask anybody else. So your biggest issue with parenting is having a co-parent.
Yeah. Because, like, if it was just me, I could just go ahead and make all the decisions and go this route, do whatever I want to do. But since it's not, I got to go say something to somebody who's always going to disagree with me.
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. She's not here to defend herself. She can't say anything. So the question is this. Do you feel that she has your son's best interest at heart all the time?
I want to say
honestly,
all the time. No, not all the time.
So that's not the case. Do you think that your perspective could be skewed a little bit because you're still very much in the moment?
Anytime when it's time to make a decision or something, I have an idea. Her goal is to just go against the grain every time. I'd be like, hold on, just like stop. Let's think about it. But she just don't want to agree with me. You get what I'm saying? So that's how I know it's just me.
Yeah.
I feel like, I gotta be.
Do you have a support system in the sense that someone else could bring her your ideas and she'll listen to them if they come from someone else?
I call her dad all the time. Which one of my friends, I told her I was gonna be here. She wanted me to ask people because she hate when I call her dad. So she wanted other people's opinion to see if she was tripping. So I call her dad every time when I feel like she wrong or just anything like that. And my friend feel like I'm lame for that.
I think it's wonderful that
Everybody
you have that
needs a voice of
opportunity, bro. Are you
reason.
kidding me?
I don't know what's the word. She just
there was a
don't like
different
the
word.
fact
Like handle it without the dad.
Yeah.
You can't.
She feel like I'm bringing them into it, which I'm
They
not.
are into it.
But they are
They're
into
involved.
it. They're the grandparents.
That's right.
Yeah. So I feel like, why would I be wrong to
And
call
the dad
him?
can probably have more of a conversation at a different level because they don't have that relationship. So when I call his mom or I'll text, I'll be like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm getting frustrated. I need a little bit more structure with this. I'm about to lose my patience here. And this is my only goal. So can you help me with this, or do I need to go ahead and go with my idea?
I think that you're doing the right thing. If you have that door open to you and you're able to pick up the phone and go, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Here's the situation. Here's why I think this. Can you maybe speak to her? He might be able to tell you, oh, no, I think you're wrong. Right? Because that's not the way I would approach it. And now you have a different perspective. Now you understand why she was feeling this particular way or whatever it may be. So I think that, no, I don't think it's wrong at all, brother. Keep doing it.
He knows her vulnerable side. She's meeting you with this huge wall up, not her dad. So he might even be able to say, I'm not going to get involved in this, but this is how I would communicate with her if I were you. Call whoever is in that house.
I definitely plan on it.
And I wouldn't stop either.
Hey,
so.
man, you're coming at things from like a very logical, reasonable point of view. And you're trying to deal with somebody.
Grenade again.
You're trying to deal with somebody who's coming at it from an emotional point of view. Like they're doing it based on how you make them feel, based on what you're asking them to do. You cannot reason with unreasonable people. If you're trying to do something that you consider reasonable and they're not trying to accept it, you beating your head against the wall trying to reason with an unreasonable person is just going to upset you.
You're right.
You got to be willing to pull the pin on the grenade.
There you go.
Everyone to
And that's what I say, grenade.
Grenade. I love that. So, G, what is that one thing that you find is the most challenging thing about parenting?
As far as parenting goes, for me, separating my son, as far as like he's a boy, I know life as a man is going to be hard. And I think that his mother doesn't see that. So she sees it as I'm being overly harsh on him. And I see it as I'm preparing him for the world. She's seeing it as he's young and, he's too hard. Well, what is the age? Like balancing that I do need to be loving and tender and things like that with him, but at the same time, preparing him for the future that he's going into. The world's a rough place. I was in the military for 17 years, so I know the world's a rough place, So preparing my son for those things and at the same time navigating the family dynamic as far as his mother and things like that goes. She's sheltered from the world because I've sheltered her from it.
That's your job, right?
But my son, I'm not sheltering him from it.
Right.
He's got to go out there. He's got to learn to fight lions, tigers, and bears and slay dragons. He's got to learn that.
Yeah.
And that process is not something that she doesn't feel like it should be that hard for him, but it is going to be that hard for him.
But it sounds to me from our conversations, even prior to this, that you balance it all out. Because I feel like from what we talked about before, yes, you're tough on him. You're trying to teach him everything you're saying. You're trying to build an armor around him and show him how to build his own armor and shield.
I see it as me to him. I see that. But like from his mother to seeing us interact, she just sees it as I'm being harsh on him. But I know I'm doing this out of love. I'm doing this out of, I'm caring for you. I'm respecting you. I'm preparing you.
Let me ask you a question, and let me know if this is too personal. But do you tell your son you love him?
Yes.
Do you kiss your son, tell him you love him, hug him, and things
Yes.
like that? Then to me, this is what I'm saying. Like there was a time where this was taboo. Our dads didn't do that. My dad didn't.
I can't remember being hugged by my dad very many times.
You know what I mean?
Thinking about it, yeah.
And so I talk to a lot of guys our age who pretty much are like, yeah, that's not something we grew up with. Even dudes who had a great relationship with their fathers would still grow up and say, we didn't start saying I love you to my dad and vice versa until I was in my 30s because I had kids of my own and I had learned to soften up because that's not the way I was raised. But you're doing that as well as being tough and being that model for him to follow. So I think that balance is great because what's most important is this. What is your son seeing? What's that image? Is he going to grow up and go, yeah, my dad was just a hard ass, never heard I love you? No, that's not the case.
As far as like what you're saying, you understand that because you're a man,
Yeah.
right? But have you ever dealt with having your wife say, hey, you're being too hard on the kids? Like, even though you're doing it out of love, you're preparing them for something.
I haven't had that because of who I am. I'm not this unreasonable, punishing type dad. I do think that I need to do, but I've never had the criticism of you being too hard on them. No.
Have you ever seen somebody resist arrest?
Sure.
Okay. When you see somebody resisting arrest, the arrest looks hard. It looks tough. Even though it's all procedural, it's all by the book, it looks rough from somebody looking at it from the outside.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes. It's the same way with parenting boys. Parenting boys, it looks rough from the outside, but it's what it takes. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some struggle involved.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Nah, what's the hardest thing about parenting? Don't say co-parenting.
No, he's cool. Seriously. I promise you, we vibe now. We're good. I think time management, just because I work a lot. And I was privileged enough to spend a lot more time with them when they were younger. I had them during COVID. I nursed them until they were almost a year. So it's weird now because now it's like I can go to the store and they're like, are you leaving again? Like, where are you going? Do you have to go to work? Work takes so long. Like, I have to bring them to school forever. And that's what they say. It's just so long. It's forever. And then I nanny on weekends. So it's like, I'm just trying to provide for them. I want there to be some type of, financial stability. So I work like a dog. I'm up before 6 a.m., 6 days out of the week, and just balancing that. I want to provide for them, but I also don't want to have the kids that are like, yeah, like we were cool with all the stuff, but I would have rathered have less stuff and you be here.
Oh, you can't get it right. You
No,
get
I
them all the
know.
stuff, they're going to complain by the time you weren't there. You spend too much time, they're going to complain about that you were broke bum and they didn't have shit that Timmy had. So there's no getting it right. I think that the secret is, and I don't know the answer, but I think the secret is that perfect balance, which is very hard because it's different for every individual. Every child is different.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a kid that I know is going to grow up to be like, I admire my dad so much because he was never here. He worked so hard. The lights were always on. There's going to be a kid who's going to be like, my dad balanced it all out. We can barely pay the bills. We ate rice and beans and that's all we ever had. We never had a piece of chicken.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the love that I got from my dad, and they admired it. So I don't think that there's a way to
there's no
get
way.
it.
It's just the guilt.
And
And I
that's
know
that's what parenting is. Because that's to me that's the challenge as well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the biggest challenge is the fact that I don't understand why in the hell. Because I feel like I'm about to have a tantrum right now. I don't understand why y'all don't listen.
Honestly, we don't
understand
either.
why it takes for you to burn your hand on the stove when I told you it was hot.
We didn't think that stove got that hot.
It's life. My frustration, even with my son, I'll tell him, I'm like, dude, I'm literally you from the future. And I'm coming back in time 20, 30 years to tell you certain things that I've already seen. If only you will listen, this is how your life's going to go. Simple example, I was trying to get my son to play golf at 9, then 13, then 14 or whatever. Now he wants my clubs. Oh, can I get your clubs to go play? Yeah, nigga. You can. So you understand the advantage now. When I was trying to prepare you a long time ago, but he didn't want to. It's like, But now you want to. But I'm like, here's what happened. You can never get those 10, 15 years back. Because that free ride to the HBCU playing golf there, that would have been a free ride for you if you understood what I was trying to teach you back then. Now, here's what G is saying. I give him a choice. Mm-hmm. That's where I went wrong. Tiger's dad didn't give him a choice. Michael Jordan's dad didn't give him a choice. Kobe's dad didn't give him a choice. The people who become the greatest at what they do, when you hear their stories, it's damn near abusive. But it's like, this is what you're going to do. So if you want greatness for your children, sometimes you have to be that warden in a sense. So I think that's what's challenging.
Quick story.
Go for it.
My oldest son that has my 2 grandkids. When he was graduating from college, I said, hey, I'm going to buy you a car. Go pick out whatever car you want, right? He was sending me like Hondas and Toyotas and things like that, responsible, nice sedans. In the end, he ended up with like a Camaro, He was like, Dad, I want this Camaro. And I know what he was thinking. He was thinking, it's flashy, it's nice. He wants a little nice car, right? I told him, your insurance is going to be high. You're going to burn a lot of gas. You're going to potentially get a lot of tickets. There's going to be a lot of consequences to having this car. I'll let you have it, but there's going to be consequences. Fast forward 6 years later, we got rid of that car 2 days ago. It was loading onto the truck, being hauled away, towed away. He looked at me and said, Dad, I should have listened to you back then. I spent a lot of money on insurance. I spent a lot of money on gas. I spent a lot of money having girls chase me around, and it caused a lot of problems. And I should have listened to you back then.
Yeah.
They got to come to that conclusion. But you're right. My younger son, he's not going to have that choice. He's going to get the car. I tell him to get.
Right.
And
so lesson is for you more than anybody else. Like he's got his own lesson, but it's like the years are lost, and you get to do it differently.
He came to that conclusion on his own.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I'll give them some rope to hang themselves. They might have to just learn it on their own. Some kids just don't listen. They just don't get it. They got to get it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the future, my youngest son, if I want him to be great, if I want him to skip all those bad steps, I'm probably just going to have to, no, this is what you're going to get.
They were very hard on me. So then I was giving my kids choices. And that has to do with the fact that I come from a different culture. You didn't ask why. You didn't question. You didn't reason. It's just what it is. This is what you do. My mindset was, I'm going to do things a little bit different. Within reason, I would give choices. Well, she doesn't want to play guitar anymore. She doesn't want to play piano anymore. She doesn't want to practice. All right, we'll stop. But then years go by and you go, damn.
With you having so many children, do you think it's better to underparent them in terms of giving them choices and options and stuff like that? Or do you think it's better to overparent them? A lot of discipline, a lot of structure, a lot of, you're going to complete this.
If I had to pick one, I would pick overparenting. I would pick pushing. I would pick being a coach. I would rather them later on not like me and say, I wish you weren't so hard on me, but they're successful, than I wish you had pushed me a little harder. Because I think that's the worst thing as a parent that you can hear from a child later on in life when things are not going so well, to look at you and go, I wish you had pushed me a little harder. Have you had instances where, no, you good?
I think you're great.
So,
you did actually push me. I think that's why I'm in the field that I'm in. My brother and I both had the opportunity to do sales. My dad is big on just try it. You learn different skills. You learn how to communicate. You learn how to get out of tough situations. I was thrown into it. And I was terrified. And even though I'm great at having conversations with people, it was scary for me. And I was thrown into a summer program, and then I traveled a little bit. And now I have this skill set to where, like, I've never interviewed for a job and not gotten it, just because I'm great at interviews. I'm great at having conversations. I'm amazing at customer service, and I can sell anything. And now I'm in a position to where I have a career. Like, this is something that I want to do. Eventually the goal is to own an agency and have all of the things. And had I not went ahead and went through with the sales thing, I wouldn't have make the
not retail either, door-to-door sales, knock on people's strangers' doors.
Right.
The hard shit.
So now all the other sales are like, oh, please,
it's
whatever.
A joke.
Like I can talk to anybody. It's not a big deal. I don't have that fear
of confrontation. I don't have that fear of overcoming objections. Like those are all things that you learn in sales. And I was pushed. There are times where I was like, I'm done. I'm going home. I don't want to do this. It sucks. And he was just like, nope, you're not done. You get off at 8, go hit 4 more doors. I don't care if it's hot. If you want to not be hot, get inside of a house because they have AC. And that was it. Like I just had to figure it out. And I was pushed. My brother was not. And I didn't get to do that. I had to finish the summer out.
Last question before we end this. What's the best thing about parenting? We talk about the worst thing. What's the thing that brings you the most joy about parenting?
The best thing is like the love. I never felt what I get from my son. I do whatever for him, and I'm cool with just a hug and a smile and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I never thought that I could love anybody more than I love my mom. I'd die for him. You know what I'm saying? I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
And he looks at me like I'm just perfect, and I'm still trying to figure things out.
You're
so that's
Superman.
like,
All right, G, what about you, brother?
Unconditional love is for women, children, and pets.
Dogs specifically, not even cats.
Yes. My older son, he's a knucklehead. He does things, he messes up stuff all the time, but I love him. It's the same thing with my younger son. I love him intensely. And just having him around, knowing that when I'm gone, there'll be somebody that looks like me continuing on the earth, and there'll be another Jermon Elder on earth. So
Awesome.
Knowing that makes me really happy, makes it all worth it. I'll go through the fire, I'll go through the struggles, whatever it takes to take care of them.
That's awesome. To me, it's more spiritual. I kind of feel like they chose me as opposed to the other way around. I knew that I wanted children, but I didn't know how many, who they'd be, what they would look like. So I kind of feel like on more of a soul level, I was chosen to be a father. To me, I'm honored in that way. And I feel that happiness and blessing every single day. So when I talk about if I could do it again, I wouldn't have kids, because of the state of the world or my concerns, my worries. I also consider the fact that I never had a choice, because they were going to be with me, and I'm lucky to have them. And like you guys said, what you get back from them, the way they look at you, the way they look up to you, I don't think there's anything better than that.
To me, the mark of a great man is access to resources, influence over people, and children. When you're able to have a lot of children, take care of a lot of children, influence children, that says a lot about you. A lot of people have small families, but I mean, when someone loves you enough that they want to reproduce you that many times, like that says a lot about you.
Love it. Thank you, brother. Nye, you can go last and cry.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to. I'm so tough. I really always wanted to be a mom. So I think them simply existing is just an answered prayer. They've made me a more grateful person. Like it's just every day I want to be better because they exist. So everything.
All right.
That's it. Oh,
Perfect.
I did it. Woo!
So listen, we're about to wrap up. You lost the coin toss, which means that you get to go out and do the outgoing messages. Who are you supposed to be?
Dolly Parton. Somebody country.
Dolly's good.
Let's see if I can turn it on. Is it on? All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to the pod. Please support us by following the show. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week when we share conversations surrounding real issues we deal with every day. Manhood matters. We're out.
Let's go. That was great.
That was a nice little southern twang.
So it gets my sales going.
Hey family, before you leave us, Naila's daughters Cleo and Callie turn 5 this week, and Mom has a very special message for them. Naila, you have the floor.
Okay. Hi, littles. It's Mommy. I wanted to take some time to record something that you can play back and listen to anytime you need to in the future. In just a few days, you'll be 5 years old. I say this all the time, but I want to remind you that I've always wanted to be a mother. And at 19 years old, I was told that probably wouldn't be my reality. But God had mercy and blessed me with you two. You two are so special to me. You are my world, and I love every single thing about you. I want you to know that you are loved no matter what, no matter the situation. I want you to know that my love for you isn't based on anything you could ever do for me or give me, and it will never be something that you ever have to earn. It's limitless, and it grows every day. Know that you are important, and when life gets loud, you'll always have a quiet and safe place with me. You two make everyone that is privileged to be a part of your life and village want to grow and be better. You simply existing is a daily answered prayer. You solidified my faith and confirmed that God is indeed good and gives grace that we don't deserve. I love you, Cleo Sky, and I love you, Callie Sky. Thank you for choosing me. I will love you through my very last breath.
Happy birthday, littles.